I'm Matt Carey, documentary editor at Deadline. We have for you now the riveting documentary series from Peacock. It is Kings from Queens, the Run DMC story. And we are joined by William H. Masterson III, who's the producer and executive producer, and by director Kirk Fraser, and also from the film, of course, Daryl DMC McDaniels, who is also an executive producer of the series. Thank you so much for being with us. As you can tell from the title of the series, this is the story of Run DMC, one of the most important, influential hip-hop groups in history. They've been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Before we get into some questions, let's take a look at a clip from the series, which gets into the early collaborations between these men who would change hip-hop history.
First time going in the studio felt weird. I was scared as shit. First of all, I never rocked a mic in public. You know what I'm saying? It was always in my basement or up in Joe's attic. I don't want to do this in front of nobody. But it's easy for me to do because I had thousands of hours in my basement alone.
You gotta understand something about D. This is a straight-A student with glasses who was into comic books and would look like Preach from Cooley High. But D actually had all the skills in my mind to get whatever I needed done, and he could rhyme. So I just had to convince Russell that this is my partner in crime, or better yet, my partner in rhyme.
D, I'm wondering how emotional it has been for you to revisit this incredible many chapters in your life. And people probably forget that, you're experiencing this as a person. You're kind of looking outward. The rest of the world is looking at you. So there are things that you may remember and things you didn't, but I wondered about how emotional it's been.
Well, I remember everything, but everything, like it was yesterday. So me and Run always said, everybody else got to experience Run DMC. We never did. Me, Run, and Jay never did because we were so busy doing it. But this documentary now lets me experience what everybody else experienced. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking at it as Daryl, a fan of hip-hop. So it's not like I'm looking at me. I'm looking at the group Run DMC that people said did all this stuff. I never had time to see what we did because I was doing it. So now I understand what Q felt. Now I understand what Chuck and MC Light felt. Oh, that's what happened.
Yeah, and I want the Run DMC has been called the Beatles of hip hop. So William, I wonder, even with 3 episodes, how do you possibly encapsulate all they have meant to music, to popular culture?
It's funny you asked. We had first talked about it being just a film, a feature film documentary. And as we really got into it, the layers and the years. We're going back 1980 when really hip hop was relatively small, and taking the viewer on a ride with these 3 young men from Queens that came together and really changed a lot. Changed pop, changed fashion, changed music, changed race relations between white people and black people. So as we started to get into it and work with Peacock, it became pretty clear we didn't have enough time to do the things that we wanted to do and to get into the subjects that we wanted to get into if we were going to truly do a body of work that represented the amazing firsts that the band accomplished. And so we had talked about doing even 4 parts. And candidly, we probably could have done 5. We had about 100 hours of interviews, across 16 different subjects. We did about 15 hours of verite. So we had enough. It was more of what were the most important things that we wanted to share and that the guys wanted to share. Because it just had never been done. And, creating a documentary and creatively is always difficult. And telling someone's story is always difficult. It's more challenging when you have the subjects that are still there and involved. Because you want to make sure that you're taking both subjects and all of the things that the people wanted to hear. And unfortunately, Jay is obviously not in it. But we dedicated a big portion of the doc to Jay because he was one of the 3. There were 3 legs on that bar stool. And so, the 3 episodes just became, I guess, the vessel for us to tell the best story.
Yeah, and Kirk, I wonder for you what the revelations were as you made this series, because I think there's so much that's eye-opening. Run DMC has been well chronicled, and yet, we are discovering new things through the series.
I mean, I approached this project based on the fact that I felt like it was a full circle for me in terms of when my family migrated to the state. Run DMC was the first group that introduced me to hip hop. So, with that being said, it was one of those opportunities that I sat down with each one of the guys, and I just felt like, just the direction of your music plays a very important role because that's how I was introduced to hip hop. That's how the world was introduced to hip hop as well. So, let's find a way of using the way of making these records and making these songs a main through way through the story and introducing aspects of things that occurred while you were making a record, what you were going through, things like that. They actually motivated not just the music, but also how you played a very important role in pushing the culture forward.
And DMC, it was an important part of the series is Walk This Way, the incredible collaboration with Aerosmith, which was so important, I think, in breaking down barriers between white and black audiences, for one thing, between different genres of music. It still is one of those seminal moments in music, and yet maybe a bit of a surprise to some people that there was some backlash against it within the hip hop community. But can you talk about exploring that in the series and what that was like for you?
It was phenomenal because, it didn't cause, it caused backlash. It caused backlash in the recording music industry because until Steven Tyler took that mic stand and knocked down the wall in the video, there was barriers and divisions everywhere. Everything was segregated, but nobody knew. Like, Walk This Way, I've been to every continent from 86 till now. Africa, South Sudan, Seoul, Korea, Europe, Germany. They all say when Steven Tyler did that didn't just happen in the video, happened in the world. But what people don't understand was Run DMC didn't create it. We was the first to rap over rock on a record. Before recorded rap, if you would have saw Grandmaster Flash, Africa Bambaataa, DJ Charlie Chase from the Cold Crush, every DJ in New York in the beginning of hip hop had their MCs rap over rock records. But the beauty of exploring this now is because we had such a divisive time in our country, in our world, in this present age. So hopefully people watching this doc, the ones that was there to experience, will go, yo, that's right. Like, when Obama got elected, all my Jewish friends called me up and said, we won, and that was because of Run DMC. So it was beautiful that we didn't just talk about Run DMC met Steven Tyler. We showed them to who, what, when, where, and why. It was a society thing. It was a political thing. It was a racial thing. It was a historical thing. So everybody, long story short, everybody heard about Walk This Way, but never got to see the why and the how. So given this now, hopefully it'll encourage the future generations to go back and doing stuff that's great, that brings people together, that knocks down those walls of separation. But that being said, when me and Run was doing it, we had no idea what was going to happen. We just wanted to rhyme. And it was Rick Rubin's brilliance to say, do the record over, but do it with the guys.
Wow.
And that was the game changer. You saw, people were surfing MTV and was going, why is Run DMC with the Rolling Stones? And then the Aerosmith fans was going, why is Aerosmith with the rap guys? But then when it came together, it was a game changer. It was a world changer.
Oh, yeah. No one who has seen the video can ever forget that.
Yep.
William and Kirk, really for both of you, but there's such a wealth of archival material, amazing things that you find. But I wonder, is there anything you wish you could have laid your hands on that is any holy grails out there that Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be discovered. Or did you get everything that you wanted?
I mean, we probably worked with about 100 different outlets for, everything from the European tour to the Asia tour to early days to studio recordings. The one area that we really there wasn't a lot of it was studio time, because I think that when you're in that studio, there's a couple around Walk This Way, but we didn't get a lot of in studio when they were creating their different hits, because obviously Walk This Way is a big hit, but they had well more than their one big hit, and so it was really bringing people. The whole goal of the film was to celebrate Run DMC and to finally create a body of work that was going to represent all the things you think you knew, but then when you really got into it, you didn't really know a lot of the things. And so that would be mine. If there was one thing that I could, that really would have been great to get hands on, would be more studio time, because that's when the genius was happening. That's when the back and forth and the tag team was happening, and people, including myself as a fan of the music and the guys, that's what was really interesting to me. It was how they could just seamlessly go back and forth. And if you watch the doc, you'll see, a number of people, including Eminem, are like, I don't know how they did that.
Yeah, to this day, mysteries. And Kurt, for you, what were the materials you're working with? You're working with the verite of today, but this archival material, and it is a gold mine. But you then have to somehow structure this over 3 episodes. What were the challenges in terms of storytelling for you as the director?
I mean, I wish I could have actually had more verite. When you're dealing with today's time of shooting, it's all about schedules and availability, and there was a very lot going on between those guys doing different projects and things like that. So the style that I wish I could have actually had more of is just the guys together that were leading up to the actual main performance at Yankee Stadium. But outside of that, just the backstory and trying to remember, we took the guys back to the areas that they grew up at. Those are the verities that were leading up to the performance, and just more of that to take you in and out of today and the past. I wish I could have actually had more of that to put the story together. But overall, very completely happy with the archives that we had. That played a very important role, seeing things that the world hasn't seen before. The guys actually had a camcorder on the road while they were on tour. So those were personal videos that we got a chance to look at and find ways to connect that to where we are today. And I felt like, as you can see with the final concert at Madison Square, we went back and forth through different performances of their career and bring you back to where we are today at the Yankee Stadium. But outside of that, I mean, it was a great story. It was a great opportunity to be a part of Hip Hop 50th and telling the story of one of our most iconic group in hip hop. And, just like Bill said, when you look back at it in their body of, it has never really been done on this type of level, that really there's more depth to just Run DMC. There's Jay, there's Run, and there's Daryl, and there's 3 parts, and each one of those really kind of gave you more heavy on one or of the other character. Like if you look at part 3, that's really heavy on Jay. You see a lot of personal videos at home, things like that. So, the project overall, the archives were phenomenal, and we had a great team.
For Daryl, what were there parts that you probably maybe would prefer to not have had to explore, but you really needed to for the series to work? Just things that are painful.
No, it was great. People were saying it's so well done. I wish we could have did 4 episodes. It would have been great. I mean, it was phenomenal. It's so good that I wish we could have did more, for sure.
William, what has been the response to the series? Again, coming in the context of the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and of course, as we realize in the series, so many people thought it was a fad and would be gone, 49 years ago.
Right.
Right. It was. I'd like to say we planned it to be to lock into the 50th anniversary. It was serendipity. It really was, because when I first met Dee years ago, we started talking about what could this be? What format did we want? And in 1978, Martin Scorsese directed The Last Waltz. And we started talking about that, and both Rev and Dee wanted it to be as much about them and the music and the historical relevance for their hits. But we had, originally talked about, could we do it through a concert and keep going back into time and, going through the music. And so we kept with that theme. We just didn't do it for the concert. The concert ended up being the 50-year anniversary celebration, really brought on by COVID. Because when we first did the deal together, we did it right literally the Thursday before the world shut down. We all got together. It's all right. Let's do something great. And then you couldn't produce for a year and a half. So we got to spend a lot of time that maybe we wouldn't have in pre-pro, and a lot of time developing, and a lot of time. What is this going to be? Why is it so important? And for us, it just had to be great. And in most cases, and I know that we're going to get into finances, but we went to great lengths to make this great and cinematic and feel big, and going back and forth archival and our shots. I mean, Kirk and I would be at each other. We're setting up shots that would take 3-4 hours to set up. But in the end, when you see it and it all comes together and it flows, it's special. And I was so close to it for years, and I've watched it many times, and I like it more every time I watch it. Not because it's our project, because I think we accomplished the goal that all of us set out to do, which is create a beautiful body of work that represented Run DMC.
Well, congratulations to all of you. The series is from Peacock. Kings from Queens, the Run DMC story. We have been joined by William H. Masterson III, who's a producer and executive producer, director Kirk Fraser, and of course, from Run DMC, we've been joined by Daryl DMC McDaniels, who is also an executive producer on the series. Thank you again so much, and again, congratulations.
Thanks,
Matt.